is subaltern? The term subaltern first used by one Italian Marxist leader, Antonio Gramsci, in his teacher notebook. When he used the subaltern, he used for a class to define the lower class people or the proletariat, he used this term subaltern. But when we are talking about Ranajit Guha, who is the pioneer of subaltern history writing, he used this term for a very broader manner. And when he wrote Subaltern Studies, he almost edited 6 volumes of Subaltern Studies, and he never mentioned about Gramsci's writing about this phrase. He talked about Gramsci, and he talked that I get inspired by Gramsci. But when he talked about Subaltern Studies, he talked that this subaltern term he taken from the concise Oxford Dictionary, where in concise Oxford Dictionary, the word subaltern stands for the meaning given in the inferior rank. And here, the inferior rank in South Asian studies means that the inferior in class, the inferior in caste, the inferior in age, the inferior in gender. All those are inferior. In all these aspects, we can call them subaltern. In latter phase, he also taught that this subaltern can be used for peoples. Understood? So basically, subaltern means that the marginal people. What is the meaning of a subaltern? Here, Ranajit Guha taken this term and he talked about Antonio Gramsci, but mentioned that he taken this term from the concise Oxford Dictionary. Here it means inferior rank, means marginal people or marginal people like caste, class, gender. Understood, guys? What is the meaning of subaltern? Okay. And so far 12 volumes were edited in the subaltern project. We call it SSG groups, means subaltern study group. It's called subaltern studies. They are trying to understand this subaltern. Means here when they talked about subaltern writing or writing about subaltern history, why this requirement happened? Okay, the first volume get published in 1982, then 1983, 1984, 1985. Consequently, 6 volumes were edited by Ranajit Guha. After that, Gyan Pandey and others will talk one by one who edited which volume will talk. They edited all this. Here, they talked about how Indian existing history writing is totally different. Means when they are talking about colonial history writing, they are talking that colonial historian interpreted Indian history that Indian nationalism was created by the colonial education system, by the colonial ideology, by the colonial institutions, by the colonial influence. Means the Western education system influenced the Indian bourgeois, mean Indian middle class. That's why the nationalism created in India through a framework of colonialism. Colonial historians interpreted like that, and they justified their rule through their colonial writing. Their ideas, their ideology, their approaches were justified by colonial historians. When national historians, they write Indian history, they talked about certain elitist people like Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru and others. They emphasized Congress and other organizations. Those mobilized the peasants and other peoples. They talk this elitist certain people brought the peasants and workers and other peoples from subjugation to freedom. Understood? But here the subaltern They taught that these existing history writing were elitist. They are talking about elitist people, the privileged class. When we are talking about Congress was always influenced and dominated by upper class people. And they are talking about certain portions. Even if you talk about Marxism, in Marxism, they have a certain trajectory. They are talking that class struggle will happen by one group to another group. That we talked about that synthesis, that thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. In one condition, something will happen, then another antithesis will come. When the thesis and antithesis will collide, the synthesis will come. Okay, they have one kind of certain mentality that they are applying economy in every kind of history writing. They are talking about economy is the main cause of all evils. If struggle is happening in India due to economy, due to economical needs, okay, if you talk about Ramoji Palamadatta, if you talk about other Hindi historian, even in Didi Goswami and others, Ram Saran Sharma, in their history writing, they shown the economy, how the economy influenced Indian history and what is going on if the social changes are happening due to economy, like that. And they predicted after this, after the fall of this capitalist society, the social society or the socialism will come. It's their prediction. But here, the subaltern group, the subaltern history writing rejected all the existing trends. They tried to show that here one certain group we call subaltern, that the peasants, the tribals and other peoples, they have their own expectations if they are joining any kind of movement due to their own influence. Okay, and these peoples are totally neglected by this colonial historian, by this national historian, by the Marxist historian. If we will talk about all these historians have a common form of history writing. All these are elitist. Elitist means if you talk about colonial, they are talking about governor generals, viceroys, and other persons. What about their contribution? If you talk about nationalist people or national historian, they have their own writing. They are talking about Congress, they are talking about Gandhi, they are talking about Subhash Bose and others. If you talk about Marxist historian, they are talking about economy, the main cause of all social changes. So here, the subaltern history writing of the subaltern studies tried to write something different, or tried to show something different from the existing historical writing trend. Mosam and others understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm talking in English, or I will switch over to other language also.
I'll not.
It will be bilingual for convenience for all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So right. Subaltern history writing कहले बा subaltern historiography कहले हमें बुझिया दरकार जे subaltern जो टर्म टा में व्यवहार करूचे ताको हमें निम्न वर्गीय प्रसंग बोली भी कहूचे. निम्न वर्गीय प्रसंग एटी निम्न वर्गीय प्रसंग कहले कोन बुझछ मन रख 1980 परे ए subaltern history writing by निम्न वर्गीय इतिहास लेखा आरंभ हला. After 1980 प्रथम वॉल्यूम जो पब्लिश हला 1982 रे आ यार पायोनियर थिले रंजीत गुहा. रंजीत गुहा 1959 बेलकू माइग्रेट करि आइथिले बा पढैथिले इंग्लैंड को. सेठी जो सक्सेस यूनिवर्सिटी अछि सेठी से पढौथिले. सेठी से ऑक्सफोर्ड जो पब्लिकेशन अछि ताको सहित कथावार्ता करिकि गोटे सीरीज प्रकाश करिथिले एई सबल्टन स्टडीज हिस्ट्री साउथ एशियन हिस्ट्री उपरे आ तांको अन्य लोक भीतर सहायता करिथिले. तो ए इतिहास कोन कहउतला ना ए कहउतला वर्तमान पर्यंत भारत जो इतिहास लेखा हेछि से इतिहास गोटे सर्टन ट्रेंड को नहीं चली. से ट्रेंड टा कोन